Hello, I am Tania Gerard, your congruency coach. This is an episode of Conversations in Congruency. And I'm thrilled to have my guest today, Linda Vettrus-Nichols. And we're going to talk about what happens when you become your best friend. So, Linda, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Tania. It's always fun to do interviews with you.
Yes, it is. And we have a story of interviews together. And I think all of them have been so cool. So Linda organized a summit about self-sabotage that was amazing. And I was honored for her to interview me. And then we had the Women Who Run with the Wolves summit too. Oh, that was so cool.
That was a good one.
Yeah. What was your favorite part about that one?
Everybody's personal take on the messages from the book, and their personal stories of transformation and going through the different stages of initiation, because the female psyche stuff is so interesting to me.
It is fascinating. And that book, please, if you're watching and you haven't read that book, start doing it today. Like, please do. And take your time, just savor the stories, because it is wonderful.
Yeah, and the one thing about that book, as you well know, Tania, is you won't read that book until you're ready to read that book.
Yes, Yes, that's true. As many things in life, it can be sitting on your shelf for years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's say it again. Women Who Run with the Wolves. And it's by Clarissa Pinkola Estes.
Yes. Find it. You're going to love it. So, well, before continuing, I want to introduce you, Linda. So I'm going to read. You got the best bio ever. So let me introduce you to Linda Vettrus-Nichols, who is a transformational performance improvement coach who helps her clients become clear and consistent. She takes a calm, honest, no-nonsense approach to success. Trust me on that part. Like, she will not let you lie to yourself. Linda believes that the most harmful judgments you will make are those you make against yourself. If you're looking for feedback for your latest idea, product, or service, Linda works with you to get it done now. And in like efficiency, 100%, that's Linda. It's been said that Linda is the perfect mix of your loving sister, sassy best friend, and eclectic great aunt, who will always has a crazy and interesting story to tell. So this is Linda.
Right, in a nutshell.
Yes. So Linda, would you like to share a little bit of how does life looks like when you've just released other people's judgment, you're just at peace with yourself?
That has been in coming to the understanding that we all come into this world kind of on the same plane, and through different filters, like things our parents have said to us. I mean, like, even like if your mom's like, afraid of spiders or snakes or something, right? That's a filter. And we'll sometimes take it on and now, we're afraid of spiders or snakes, right? And then for girls especially, it's like, be the nice girl, right? To the point you're losing that sense of wild, that intuitive sense, and become quite vulnerable to the predator. Sometimes our own mothers are our predators, right?
Yes.
And then we go through becoming a predator ourselves, right? And then it's like blaming everybody for our problems, and a lot of times it's even husbands, kids, whatever. And it's just kind of like It's everybody else. So I call it like stage of the other. And then when we start to own our own stuff, that gets into a place of numbing out with like an addiction, hitting the wall with it, and like giving up, and getting into suicidal ideation. And then when we are finally ready to just step back into our power, we step back to where we actually came from. And I just love talking about the human journey that way. And so I talk about the 3 stages of the female psyche. And we come in on stage 3, that fully embodied soul, that powerful, fully embodied soul. And it's really cool the way we're raising kids these days. There's like way less filters, less predators, and they're very connected, or allowing them to stay really connected to, the source of where they came from, right? Yeah. And so I love doing this sort of like the human journey. It's almost like a circle, and like there's a stage up here, I call it stage 3. And if you envision a piece of paper up here, this is all black, and in the right quadrant is like a great big giant flashlight, right? So we come from the light. Remember the movie Under the Tuscan Sun and the star, right? Her friend had the baby, and what did she do? She went to the window with the baby and held the baby up to remind the baby that you're from the light, right? I just love that scene. And so then we get, to, like I said, the filters, the parents and the predator, and then blaming others, and then blaming ourselves. And then when we step back onto stage 3, we're now on the other side of that piece of paper. And that piece of paper has a bunch of holes in it. So that big flashlight on the right is aiming at that piece of paper. And what happens if a flashlight in the dark aims at a piece of paper with holes in it? There's a whole bunch of streams of light. And it's almost like the spotlight. And it's everybody going, Tania, what is it that you remember? Linda, what is it that you remember? And the best part about what it is that we do remember of who we really are is, and that we're all the same, we're all connected, right? The best part about that is you can monetize that. People will actually pay you for what it is that you remember. I think that's really cool.
That is really cool. Yeah, because that's what you bring to the world, right? The value that you bring into the world.
Yep, absolutely. And like I said, we like anything you think of God or source or whatever, you are omniscient, omnipresent. You are, right? As a soul. Okay? Yeah. And we aren't human beings. We are souls. Yes. We embody, right? Absolutely. So the heart is part of the human. The soul is completely different, and it embodies the human. The human is about the ego and the pain body, and this like eternal pain body that goes to infinity. And the ego is, set up to protect us, right? And so I always say, walk at the level of your soul. That's the title of my new book, right? So I think of the pain body on the left, and the ego on the right, and the soul in the middle. The soul is eternal, it from infinity and beyond, right? So the soul is like kind of like almost like a wall, if you will. And the ego, when we aren't listening to our ego, it reaches over and gets the pain body going. So if you're living in the human and you're not walking at the level of your soul, you don't have your soul in between those two, and they're going to get in cahoots on you. Because if you're not going to listen, then it wrench up a few like memories, pain for you. When you're walking at the level of your soul, those two can't get in cahoots. You can hear your ego if you choose to, and you can say thank you, and I'm going to do it anyways, right?
So tell me a little bit more about the ego and the pain body. How does the ego look like, or what do we experience that we can identify as the ego, as you said, protecting us, which is a very interesting concept. So what would be an example of the ego?
Right. The ego is all about future. So anytime you're thinking about the future, anytime you're worried about the future, you're in ego. When you say things like, I think, or I hope, or I should, all that is ego stuff, okay? Those words are not there at the level of the soul. The soul is like the sage. Everything just is, right? Everything is maybe. There's no duality at the level of the soul.
Yes.
Go ahead, Tania.
And what about the pain body? What is it about?
Yep. It's about the past, all the hurt, all the pain from the past. It will always be there. You get to listen to it or not. Some people think that they like have healed from the pain body, and it's like there really isn't anything to heal when you're walking at the level of your soul. It's not so much like, oh, I have to heal. It's like you get to remember who you are, step back into your power, and just be.
This is
out of the pain body, out of the ego. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, this is interesting because I think one fact that we need to acknowledge is that people who have lived their lives off script, like for any reason they have decided to make choices that are different from the mainstream choices, or just to, you know, to explore, to find who they are regardless of what's the information around them or what are the expectations around them. People who have followed this path have been exposed to many wounds because it's, you know, it's open field. We walk without roads, we walk without maps, and things not always turn as we expected. So I find it interesting that you talk about the pain body and these wounds of the track, but as something that it's there, but it's kind of already healed. I don't know. What's your take on this? What's your take on living a life of making choices that are not the mainstream choices, and how you find inner peace regardless of all the experiences?
It's basically doing what you want when you want, and knowing what. That's a trick right there. And you're not going to know what you want when you're listening to the ego. You're not going to know what you want when you're listening to the pain body. That happens at the level of the soul. You know, we have like a heart's desire. That's part of our humanness, right? And so that is part of like knowing what you want. I'm talking about this intuitive knowing, kind of like what's best for you. So like if you've been raised on like God the Father, right? You know, like that same idea of you just know what is the best for you. Does that make sense? It's an intuitive knowing that they talk about, that Clarissa talks about in the book, right?
Yes.
Women Around with the Wolves. Getting back to who you really are, getting back to your wild, so that like a wolf, you know, you can protect yourself. And humans have tried to control wolves and women for centuries and chase the wild out. Wolves are only crazy when there's been a, like, I want to say drought, that's not the word I want, you know, but there's like no food, right? So there's this huge starvation going on. Once a wolf steps into starvation and starts eating, it's lost its ability to stop, right? So we've been really cruel to the wolves and then turned them into these crazy people, crazy animals. And we've done the same to women, right? Because like, oh, like a woman's not supposed to pleasure herself, just for starters, right? There's that movie on Netflix or whatever, Hysteria, that's Riot. You know?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, yes. All this controlling the nature and the
environment.
Yes.
Right? And then demonizing from there.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. It makes sense. And it brings me back. I'm going to switch my screen because it brings me back to one of your quotes. Okay, so Linda's book title is Walk at the Level of Your Soul, and it is a beautiful collection of quotes, wisdom quotes about many of the things that we're talking about. And I have one here because I love it. It's inner peace. Inner peace comes from loving oneself and knowing what it is you love the most. The process, well, okay, here you talk about your husband, Terry Nichols, how this process brings inner peace to your clients. And then you mentioned evolution means eve of enlightenment. Evolution is about rearranging our priorities. I love evolving and reinventing myself and my life. I found this valuable and golden because, you know, we exist in this society that says you made a decision and your life is set in stone. And I feel that's one of the forces that is basically crushing our souls every single day. We're not tables, we're not inanimated objects, and we're constantly evolving and just becoming whoever we are. And I love your take on this. Can you tell us more about the relationship that you find between inner peace and being open to evolution?
Well, first of all, the soul can't be like crushed or killed, right? I mean, you can, we have a spirit too, and you can like crush someone's spirit, right? Yeah. So
that's true. If
we think of the soul as our like all-powerful divinity, yeah. Mm-hmm. So in a nutshell, ask me again.
What would be, in a nutshell, okay, so what would be,
because you're breaking up too, so I'm not catching everything you're saying.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, internet is not being the friendliest right now. Okay, so I will repeat the question. Thank you for asking me. Okay, so what is the relationship between creating inner peace and keeping ourselves open to evolution?
We become highly evolved when we are not connected to ego. My husband and I went through like high-end coaching, and you get like 5 minutes, you get a total of a 15-minute call once a month. But in like the first 5 minutes, you've been told something that could take your business down the road like 6 months out, okay? And then you're like wondering what else to ask. So it's like coaching on steroids, right? So, well, now I just lost my train of thought on that.
You were like, what's so amazing? Inner peace and evolution. The idea of bringing them
together. I know. I'm back. And so, if you know David Hawkins' work, he's a kinesiologist. He muscle tests, humanity and the different levels. And so we went from I'm sure in my 30s I was in like more the 500 range, and probably when we started the coaching we were in the 600 range, and we got up to like 940 and 945. They say like Jesus and Gandhi and Buddha vibrated at about 1,000. There is no room for ego in high-end coaching. Like we got to an event and they're like, here's your champagne, walk the pink carpet, go in this room, here, the vendors have gifts for you, and then go in this other room and make your commercial. And we're like, what commercial? And so like Terry's like freaking out, and the guy's like, I'm just gonna go out in the hallway, the guy's gonna film it. I'm like, I'm gonna join you, and Terry grabs my arm and he goes, no, stay here. And I'm like, if you don't get your shit together, I'm leaving too. Okay, I'll be good. And then we just kind of threw something together. And so we were like, what commercial? Like, yeah, the one we're going to show the 800 people at the event. Right? So after they showed all the commercials, we had a couple walk up to us and say, your commercial is really different from everybody else's. And we're like, Oh yeah, why is that? It's like, well, everybody else was just pushing their energy out at us, and you guys weren't. You were like pulling us in. You weren't telling us everything, but what you were telling us was super interesting, and we wanted more. So, okay, so that was like one example. Well, then after all that went down, we had invested $17,000 in this event. We still didn't know when we were going to be speaking. We were in Vegas at a 4-day event, and they're like, oh yeah, and by the way, you're going to be speaking at 8 o'clock on a Friday morning. And we're like, in Vegas? Competing with everybody going out drinking, competing with all the free breakfast in the casino. Are you kidding me? Then my ego was like, ah! I'm like, I just let go. And we had people stop us in the hallway to say, we came early, like it was 10-2, and we were locked out. They locked us out. And I said, yeah, we filled the room early.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 60 people, 10 minutes early, doors got locked.
Wow.
So your vibration and what you do with your energy is a huge key to your inner peace, right? And listening to your ego is not going to be real helpful most of the time, because it is totally trained for fear, right? Protection. And at the level of soul, like, you're just kind of all knowing, right? So like, you don't even need protection. It's really interesting, and it raises your vibration. So like, people will say, oh, the highest vibration is love. And it's like, no, it's not. Joy is higher than love. Peace is higher than joy. Enlightenment is higher than peace. And guess what the highest vibration is? I'm an educational kinesiologist too.
So
what do you think is the highest vibration?
Higher than enlightenment?
Yep, the book ends at enlightenment. But if you muscle test, guess what it is? Being a coach, you've heard this word a lot. You hear it online quite a bit. Starts with an A, has a G in it. Alignment.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, because it's what puts everything together.
Yeah, if you're aligned, if you're congruent, you're at the level of your soul. Congruency is very much about walking at the level of the soul. Yay, you.
Thank you. Yes, it is. And yeah, it is about just being there and being conscious of who you are and like what inputs you're receiving that are trying to pull you apart, right? And just acknowledging them, thanking them for whatever their message, but like just saying, oh, I love it. So I didn't know that. I didn't know that alignment vibrates higher than alignment.
I got that figured out. Pass it on. Muscle test it yourself.
Yes, I do. Yes, I agree that love is the first step. I mean, in our culture, we tend to see it, or culture tends to see it as the goal, the ultimate perfection and existence. And I do believe it's only the first step. And it is the first step, both things at the same time. Once you connect with yourself, once you are capable of accepting and respecting and honoring who you are, just because you are that person, and because it's wonderful that you're in the world, then you really start a journey. So I love the way that you arrange them.
Yeah, and loving yourself is very much a part of accepting all of you. And I took a core passion assessment, and both my husband and I did, and we're like, our number one is recognition. We know exactly what's wrong, and we know exactly what to do about it. Well, the shadow of that, if you will, is about boundary. Well, I'll go one more step. The second thing was compassion. So we know what's wrong. We know what to do. That's recognition. And compassion is our second. We just want to help, right? Well, not everybody wants to be helped, right? So the shadow is boundaries. The shadow of compassion is in the area of boundaries.
Say more about that, please.
Well, if you're in the shadow of compassion, then you're like first of all, you're gonna probably pull in a narcissist, right? And because the shadow of that would maybe go along the lines of even people pleasing and perfectionism, and they're not gonna let you know you're perfect because they are. Does that make sense?
Yes, it
Yeah.
makes sense. Yes, because when I start working with my clients at the very beginning of the process of becoming their best friends, we talk a lot about boundaries.
Yeah.
As the exercise of choosing. Like, this is what I want. This is what I'm saying yes to. So this is what I'm saying no to, right? And if I am saying yes to trusting my own judgment, I will say no to that opinion that you want to give me without me requesting it. So that is how we explore the exercise of boundaries.
Beautiful.
Thank you. And the idea is for it to be a stage. It's not like you will always be very intentionally exercising your boundaries, but once you make them a habit, once you just learn to trust, to say yes and to say no, as you said before, just your intuition, what do you need right now? Then those boundaries just happen. And they're like doors, right? They're not fixed. They're not non-negotiable. They're just doors that let you decide what you want to bring in and how you want to show up to in the world.
Right.
So I love what you say about it. I love the relationship between boundaries and compassion. Compassion to ourselves first and foremost, right?
Yes, absolutely. And like my clients are building a business, right? So it's not about your business. At the end of the day, people want to buy you. So, right? And so it's not about like, ooh, build this whole business. No. It's about you. So build your life. Build your business around that life. And what is it that you really want, like in your day to day? People will say, "Oh, I want to like have a nonprofit," and it's like, what does that mean to you? Oh, it means like I'll have this place where all these people can gather. And it's like, do you like cleaning your house? No. Okay. So then, would you like cleaning 2 houses? At the end of the day, and in real reality, so it's like. No, it's like, okay, so maybe the first step is building your business up to have like a housekeeper, right? So then when you have your other building, you know how to make money enough to have someone else do the cleaning, right? I wouldn't just depend on volunteers. They don't always show up.
Yeah, I love that vision, like building modules that will take you somewhere.
Yeah, you're so good at that, teaching.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I do believe that, and I love that you mentioned it. And you have a quote about that in the book. I don't remember the exact words, but it's like once you make the decision, the how kind of reveals itself in the process. And I feel that's very important to keep in mind. Can you tell us a little bit more about it, please? So, decision making. How do you see that process?
Well, in lack mentality, it's like you're like, oh, I'd really like to do this. I want to do this, but I can't do it because blah, 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 blah. And I wouldn't know how to blah, 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 blah. And it's like, do you want it or not? Yes or no, right? Because the soul only works in what I call onesies, right? It's not like, oh, I think I was 2 or 3 years old. No, your soul knows. How old were you, right? Listen to yourself. In America, we tend to, oh, maybe it was this, maybe it was that. No, your soul knows. Get there, right? So, and one of the ways I get people there is to have them put their hand out, make a fist, and pull it into their second chakra, which is between the belly button and the pubic bone. Close your eyes, just do 3 belly breaths, and just relax. and go blank and allow whatever wants to come up to come up. All the answers are in the soul. If you have a question, you have the answer. It's all there. You just aren't available to close down the monkey chatter, the mind, right? Especially women, like think, strategize. Like always out thinking the kids, right?
Yeah.
It's a big drain on us, and we weren't meant to live in our heads. So the real us is at the level of the soul, because that's where we came from. So
Yes.
stay connected to your own divinity so that you have power and the resources and all the knowledge of the collective. Does that make sense?
It makes absolute sense. Thank you. And I'm going to stay with that and with these truth that you just shared with us. If you have the question, you have the answer. And as you stay connected to yourself, you're staying connected to your divinity. Thank you. This, for everybody who's watching, if you stay with this, that's it. Like, you've got a lot to think of and reflect of, and just walk with you for the next few days. If you have a question, you have the answer. You stay connected to yourself, you stay connected to divinity. This is wonderful. Linda, I will just ask you to, what would you want to say goodbye with? How would you like to wrap up this conversation? As you always interview me, if it was the only thing you had to say in the world, the only thing I'd like to say today, what is it? With what do you want to leave us?
It really is the title of my book, Walk at the Level of Your Soul. It really, that is so much my message. And I make sense of things. So making sense of things is my mission. And I'm really good at it. I've done it all my life. Make sense of things for myself and others. So if you're looking for any type of clarity, it's almost like, I'm the oracle or something, because I don't channel. People, there's some people who they channel. I'm an open channel, and that makes me really good at being able to connect with another person's soul. And people say, you're right, and it's like I'm always going to be right to you, because this is your soul that's speaking. I'm just kind of that conduit for it. I don't read energy, right? I had a coach who was like, her dog was dying, and like all our healer friends were reading her energy. And the thing is about reading energy is you might be reading old energy. And they were actually kind of triggering her and freaking her out, because that was actually old energy. And so, in her sadness about losing her dog, she was just not as fully present. And it really threw her for a loop. She goes, I'm not letting anybody read my energy ever again.
Yeah, that's true. Just protect ourselves, and protect ourselves in a way that allows us to be open, right?
Yeah, and the whole idea of protection is there's no need for protection when you're in your power, right?
Yes.
So that's the beauty of it too. And that really helps to decrease the ego, and it helps to raise your vibration. And when your vibration raises, the vibration of the world is forced to raise, and we all get lifted up when each person does their own inner work.
Yes, I agree with that. And that's the quote I would like just to read to wrap up. I had it here, but this idea that the peace in the world comes from everybody's being at peace with themselves.
Right. We can't have world peace without inner peace. Exactly.
So for all our friends who are watching that I know are out there making changes, that, you're not sitting down, you are willing to collaborate and to participate and to make a reality for your ideals of a world that respects and includes and accepts and honors everybody's uniqueness, your inner peace is essential to create this world that you want to create. So thank you for reminding us that. Linda, thank you so much for this conversation, for your time. Where can people find you?
Linda Vettrus-Nichols.com is my website.
Perfect.
So my name and then .com.
.com. Perfect. I will include that link on the description of the video. And your book, can they get your book there too?
It's out on Amazon.
Okay. So yeah, because it's lovely. It's very short, but it's like you just need to read one of the quotes and think about it and just process it for a day. So yes. Thank you for writing that book. It has so much wisdom.
You're welcome. Got another one coming.
Perfect. Oh wow, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to friends for watching, and I'll see you soon in another episode of Conversations in Congruency. So it was my guest, Linda Vettrus-Nichols, and I am Tania Gerard, your congruency coach. Thank you for watching.